For today, rather than an outfit video, let's kind of do just an update on what's going on my gameplay. Obviously, we're still waiting. It's overdue for the update. We're still waiting. It's overdue for Outlaw Pass 3. We're still waiting. It's overdue for a new role. I've maxed out all 4 of the roles, and I've had that done actually for quite some time, although people who started playing before me were done long before me. I didn't start playing until sometime in January, so I've been playing for a number of months, I guess, and I'm at about 176 as my character level, and I've maxed out all 4 roles. I want to talk just very briefly about what I'm doing, what I was doing, and what I'm doing now. So I had said in an earlier video, let me talk about all 4 of the roles real quickly. First off, Bounty Hunter's the first one that I did. It's all maxed out. I only very rarely do a bounty hunt nowadays. Occasionally I will do one to meet a daily challenge. Actually, come to think of it, I should probably log on today. I think one of the daily challenges is to complete a hard or legendary bounty. And of course they say complete, but you get the reward as soon as you start it and accept the mission. So I'm actually kind of tempted to start a legendary bounty, and then rather than do it, I'll go do some hunting while I'm in a kind of a virtual solo lobby because of the bounty hunt. So I don't really do very much with the bounty hunter. I have not actually done all of the legendary bounties. There's a few that I have not done yet, but I will probably do them all at some point. It gives me something to do. I do occasionally do a low-level bounty just because they're kind of fun sometimes. And I don't want to get caught up in just doing tedious daily grindy type of things, and so I do those sometimes just to break that monotony. I don't have a lot of time to play every day. I mean, these people who do, other people I should say, I'm one of those people too, but other people who do YouTube videos on Red Dead Redemption play for hours every day. They're like really kind of intense about their playing of it relative to what I do. I will play for an hour or two and it's pretty relaxed. It's kind of just something to do to kill time because I'm stuck at home, same as everybody else. There's not very many places open that I can go do anything at. And because I work full-time and it's, like any other job, I like to come home and kind of unwind after I've done it, even though I'm now working from home. So I just play for a couple hours a day. Often it's in the morning before I start work. I get up kind of early and do it before my first wave of meetings. So because of that, though, I kind of have to stay a little bit focused on what I do. I want it to be relaxed, but at the same time, I have to stay a little bit focused or I don't get stuff done. So bounty hunts, they get short shrift, and the reason for that, of course, is that the bounty role has very little payout. It doesn't pay that much in gold. It doesn't pay that much in money, and it's not a great use of time because I don't have to do this, of course, but you can double your payout almost by waiting the clock down. But that's not a great use of time because it takes a lot of time to wait the clock down, and it's not a good use of it because you're just sitting there right next to where you turn it in waiting for the clock to go down. It's kind of a very inefficient use of my time. I do it occasionally, but not that often. Next up, the collector. Collector is a great way to earn money, but I've found over time that the role is very tedious. It's just not very fun to do, and part of that is because and I've talked about this before, because there is a map where players have kind of found where everything is. It makes it very easy to do, but it takes a lot of the fun out of it. I could, of course, buy collector maps and try to do that, but that's not very efficient. For the most part, what I do with a collector is I do the daily challenges for the collector, and there are often find 3 arrowheads, find 5 bird eggs, find 3 collectibles that require a shovel, find 6 collectibles of any type, sell 3 collectibles to Madame Nazar. Most days, without too much trouble, I can do all 3 of the collector role daily challenges, and so most days I do. But that's kind of what I do. Like, for example, today was find 3 wildflowers, find 3 items that need a shovel, and find 3 antique alcohol bottles, I think. So I went to the collector map, I turned on flowers, I turned on bottles, I turned on all of the jewelry categories and the coins and the arrowheads, because all of those require shovels. And I just did the ones that were closest to me. As it turns out, the antique alcohol bottles were the easiest because I had looted 2 of them while doing moonshine runs and a bootlegger mission. So I only needed to find 1 more of those. The flowers are kind of all over the place if you don't care which ones you get. And you know, when you have all of the jewelry, the coins, and the arrowheads turned on, there's usually 3 things that are, you know, easily found nearby that you can use with the shovel. So I got all those. It took me less than 10 minutes to do that. So that's kind of what I do with the collector. I don't go running around looking for sets anymore. I used to, because it's a very good source of money, but it just really isn't very fun. It's kind of fun at the beginning when you're seeing interesting little corners of the map that you wouldn't have seen otherwise, and they stick some little, you know, little vignette, like here's a camp where somebody died and you know you gotta find the collectible in it. That can be kind of interesting for a while, but you know, I've long past the point where I've seen all those, and I just have tired of the collector role, and I don't do much with it. So 2 of the 4 roles already, I'm not doing them. The trader role I had previously written off because not only were the animal spawns so bad that it was difficult for me to find anything, but the camp despawning issue were so bad that I got really frustrated. When I would finally have animals, I tried to take them back to camp and it wouldn't be there. Both of those issues are greatly improved now. I haven't had my camp despawn in months, I don't think. Certainly weeks, if not months. So I don't consider that an issue anymore. And although animal spawns are, occasionally you'll get in a session where it's not great, you're never in a session where there aren't any animals. And usually you can do something like force a cougar to spawn in one of the cougar spawn spots or something like that. And if not, you can always just jump into a new session. It's not a big deal anymore. In fact, what I have started doing, and I didn't used to do this, is I'm using the forced cougar spawn in that little bowl up in tall trees, right where the T of tall trees is, for the T from the tall. There's a little bowl up there, kind of surrounded on most sides by mountains with a little kind of entrance, and you can go in there and there's always a cougar there. I mean, if it's not there, you can kind of walk back out and walk back in and it will have spawned. And so now I'm doing that because cougars, of course, are tremendously more efficient than, you know, 1-star antelope or deer or whatever. You know, even a 1-star cougar is almost 6 units. 3-star cougars 13 something. So and usually when it spawns, it's not unusual for it to be a 3-star cougar if I can get a decent shot on it before it runs at me, which I can, then that works out pretty well. So I've kind of taken the trader back on again after having not done it for quite a long time. I had kind of abandoned the trader and switched to the collector for my main money making kind of routine. So I started the trader up again. I'm not doing a run every day, but I am getting to the point where, you know, 2 or 3 times a week I'll have a full load to do a run on, and that's pretty good money, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and I don't feel obligated to necessarily fill up, you know, everything that I need to get it done right away. I mean, I can hunt a little and then I can just kind of leave it and hunt some more the next day. So it's kind of a relaxing way to get money. So I'm doing that again. The moonshiner is also a role that's a great passive money making routine. I have been doing for a long time now the 3-star strong Wild Creek moonshine runs, and I don't really do bootleggers unless I happen to stumble across one while I'm in free roam or something. And this works really well because although I have to pay full price for the mash, which is $50, you get $250, $247 something to be exact, but $250 rounding it up in revenue. So your profits, you know, just a buck or two short of $200. And it requires very little effort on your part. You just have to go when it's done, and it doesn't have to be immediately when it's done, but after it's done, you go to the Moonshine Shack, you start the mission. It takes, 5 minutes to do, the delivery mission, maybe 10 if you're really slow. And then you go back and start another one cooking, and then you can go do whatever you want again. It's very low impact, very passive way to make money. Obviously, you don't make as much money doing that as you do, doing some of the other things, but the fact that it's passive and requires relatively little effort makes it really my favorite way to make money. So I still do that. Everybody's kind of anticipating that when the new update comes, the collector role will probably be nerfed, and it will probably be harder, at least for a time and maybe permanently, to find specific collectibles. The Wild Creek Moonshine that I use requires one of the collectibles, the Creek Plum Flower, and so if that becomes hard to find, I've got two options. And I was making evergreen, what do you call that one? It's the moonshine. It's a 2-star moonshine, and it requires ginseng and evergreen huckleberry and what's the third ingredient? I haven't made it in weeks, so I can't remember, maybe even months now. Anyway, none of them are collectible, and I know where they are, so it's pretty easy. I think Wild Mint is the other one. It's pretty easy. I know where to find all of the ingredients for it with relatively low effort. So I will probably switch down to that if the collectibles become hard to find. And that'll be fine, although it makes about $20 less. It's only $20 less, and so that's not a big deal. If for some reason I need another option, the Appleberry Crumb is another really good one. I know where to find apples. You can go to one of the outbuildings at Braithwaite Manor near the main mansion itself, and there's a whole bunch of apples just sitting there for the taking, usually 12 at a time, and then you can get them to respawn and pick them up again. It also requires vanilla flowers, but I'm using those already now for the Wild Creek, so I've got them marked on my map. I know where they are. And I think the third thing it uses is blackberries. And I used to think the blackberries were a little harder to find, but I now have found, and I knew that they were there, but I never really paid attention to where. I know that there's a bunch of locations in Tall Trees, and I figured out where at least some of them are. So I'm actually, while I'm there, I just pick up blackberries, and I've got it stocked up, so I will have the option of making either of those 2-star moonshines instead of the 3-star moonshine that I've been making, if I need to do that. And I'll just keep doing that. Like I said, it'll cut into my profit just a tiny bit because the revenue for the 2-star is not quite the same as the 3-star, but not enough that I'm going to be terribly concerned about it. The more interesting thing there, though, is that the blackberries are in Tall Trees, the Cougar's in Tall Trees. I've been doing the Henniganstead Moonshine Shack for a while now, and it's clear to me that although I like the scenery there quite a lot, and I like focusing my attention more kind of in the southern desert area, the Tall Trees one really is a better location. The deliveries are easier. You're not nearly as out of the way from other things, so you don't have to ride to as many places. So I've kind of moved my entire operation back to Tall Trees. I'm trying to set my camp in Tall Trees. I moved my Moonshine Shack back to Tall Trees, and I'm trying to do most of my hunting in Tall Trees because I can get the cougars, and there's plenty of other animals that run around there too, elk and other stuff. So I've kind of moved back to Tall Trees, and I still I doubt that I will ever move my Moonshine Shack to the Cattail Pond location, or the one that's kind of a little bit north of Emerald Ranch, just because both of those look like they have the same problem that Henniganstead did, in that their deliveries are not easy to do. I also doubt that I'll ever move it to the Bayou, because I just don't really like the Bayou. I think a lot of the delivery locations are in St. Denis, and I don't really like riding it around in St. Denis. And that's also where a lot of players congregate, is kind of in Lemoyne in general. And granted, I have to go to Lemoyne for a lot of things too, because there's a lot of collectibles, some of the flowers I need, the vanilla flowers, the apples, blah blah blah. A lot of that is in Lemoyne, but I can kind of stick to mostly the Scarlet Meadows side and kind of avoid all the other players. I don't really like interacting with the other players too much if I can help it, and I do very few posse type stuff. I do very few story missions where you have to do them with other players, and I do very few of the PvP events. So I do sometimes, but not a lot, and it's actually been weeks since I've even bothered to do one. So Tall Trees is kind of where it's at. I'm gonna try and stay focused there. I also bought just recently, finally, I hadn't done this, I bought the Hunter Wagon just yesterday, because I started doing more hunting and started picking up the trader again. And of course, today, everything trader related is hugely discounted, 40% off. So I blew $350 that if I'd waited one day, I wouldn't have had to spend. But, you know, whatever. That's less than 2 deliveries of a moonshine wagon, so it's not a big deal. I can easily make that money back up. So that's kind of where I am. I'm doing that. I'm just kind of killing time, trying to play a relaxed, laid-back game where I do daily challenges and a couple of moonshine runs and hunt a few things when I log on, and that's kind of all that I worry too much about doing. I don't know if I'll have time to today. There's a couple of daily challenges that I did not finish this morning because I didn't have time. So I might go back on and do it, but usually, like I said, if I play more than 2 hours a day, that's a lot. I usually don't. I don't do all the daily challenges, of course. There's usually about, I don't know, what, 8 to 10 of them that you can do relatively easily. The others are either more time consuming or involve doing something in PvP, and I just kind of blow them off because I don't want to. I rarely do the bounty related challenges, although like I said, when I see the harder legendary, I think I'm going to now default to doing that because you can get it without actually even doing it. All you have to do is start it, and then you're essentially in a private lobby when you do, so there's no reason for me not to go. Even if I'm not interested in doing the bounty mission, I can just go hunt, and there's tons of animals when you're on a bounty mission, so I can just ignore the actual bounty mission and just go hunting. So if I'm trying to hunt at Tall Trees, I guess that means either Yukon, what's his name, Yukon Nick over there at Fort Riggs, although I don't like that one because I'm pretty sure it spawns you on the wrong side of Fort Riggs and you have to get around it without, you know, triggering his gang. The other one would maybe be, I can't remember his name either, the crooked politician who's down at Thieves Landing. And that both of those would be relatively easy to run up to, you know, the Cougar Bowl in Tall Trees and just go kill a cougar, take it to, you know, camp or throw it in the hunting wagon, and then just kind of maybe do the Southwest Elizabeth Cougar Run. And there's 4 places where cougars are likely to spawn. The Cougar Bowl is the most likely, but kind of there at the north entrance of Beecher's Hope, the windmill over there a little south of Blackwater, and then that little kind of rundown camp in the southern part of Tall Trees, right up on the cliffs above the river, is the fourth one. And so you can try all 4 of those locations and see if I find more of them. When I'm in a solo lobby, maybe I'll be much more likely to find them. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing now with Red Dead Redemption. I'm, like I said, just doing some moonshine runs, some hunting, and some daily challenges. And then I'm getting footage for my outfit videos, and that usually means that I need to find a place to walk around in cinematic mode in all 3 of my outfits, and then I need to go to a wardrobe and go through the entire outfit. That takes a little bit of time too. I don't want to do more than maybe 2 or at most 3, but probably more often 2 of those a week, and that'll take a little bit of time as well. And you have to have good weather for it. You have to do it when it's sunny, right? Because you want to actually see the outfits. Other than that, it's I'm starting to kind of feel these longtime players who are complaining and talking about being frustrated about a lack of update. I'm kind of starting to see their point a little more. I'm not going to run around being all angry and frustrated and then go play for 5 hours like they do. I think that's a little silly, but certainly I can kind of see the point where maybe I don't care as much about logging in anymore. And I will probably, in a few weeks now, maybe not, maybe it'll be longer, but probably I will lose my streak. My son's about to have, my first grandchild's about to be born, and we will have to go out of state to see that. I'm obviously not going to travel with my PS4 and try to keep doing daily challenges while I'm visiting my son and his wife and their baby. That would be ridiculous. So I'll lose my streak, and I will probably lose my momentum when that happens, and maybe not care quite as much about getting back on. So if that update doesn't come out soon, I could lose an awful lot of momentum with Red Dead, and I don't know how much I will be doing with it. I'm making money, doing this stuff, and I don't really have a lot to spend it on. And I'm making gold. I've kind of upped my threshold for I don't want my gold to fall below 140 now. Money, though, I don't care about because I can make it back up pretty quickly. So I'm spending a lot of it buying more outfit elements. Different colors of different boots and pants and shirts and coats and whatnot, because I'm kind of in this outfit making mode. So, I'm doing some of that. That's kind of what motivates me, I guess, earn this money so I could buy some more outfits, so I can design more outfits, so I can make outfit videos. It's a little bit of a grindy loop, but it's a laid-back grind, and it doesn't get too tedious for me. I'll probably keep doing it until I lose momentum with having to travel, and then, like I said, if the update isn't out by then, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll keep playing, maybe I'll stop for a while.